What's up, my friends? It's Joshua here from joshuajsprague.com. Welcome to another episode of JJS TV. Stoked to have you here today because I get to introduce you to one of my favorite people, my friend, my mentor, and one of my college classmates, Lewis House. Now, if you are in the information marketing world, you've probably heard of Lewis, but if you haven't, I am so honored to be able to introduce you to him. And I gotta tell you, when we were going to college together, I never guessed that this was, the way his life was going to turn out, but it's so awesome to see how different people can branch out and grow in all these different ways and then reconnect with them later in life. It's super cool that way. Anyway, as a lot of you guys know, I'm working on a book that's all about productivity secrets and productivity improvement for information and online marketers. And this is one of the interviews that I was doing in my research for the book. And so I've been sharing snippets, or in some cases, full interviews of these, of the research that I've been doing beforehand with you guys. So that's what I'm doing today with this interview. And if you want to find out more about the book, head on over to, or if you want to sign up for the VIP list for the book, then head on over to joshuajsprague.com/book. And I'll notify you when it comes out. But anyway, in today's interview with Lewis, we really dive into, how did he go from zero to multi-seven-figure business with productivity in mind? How is he spending his time early on? How does he spend his time now that he's created this business and is able to leverage things? And how did he make that transition from, where he started to where he is now in a very short span of time, only 2 or 3 years or so? We also dive into the huge mindset shift that really allowed Lewis to kind of change everything about his life and his business. We also cover the exact step-by-step process that he's planning on taking to become a New York Times best-selling author. This is seriously gold. It's a gem if you are writing a book or want to write a book, or you just want to get inside the mind of somebody who is doing things really, really, really well. So I'm stoked to share this interview with you guys today. Now, it's a little bit longer. It's about 35 minutes or so, but I promise you it is well worth your time. And you're gonna love listening to Lewis and just hearing all of the great insights that he has to share. And I know that you're gonna love this. So let's hop on. Oh, and last thing, you're gonna notice that I got a haircut since the time I did this interview. But hey, we all gotta get haircuts, right? So let's chat with Lewis. All right, super pumped today to have my man, my mentor, and my former college classmate, Lewis House, to chat today about productivity. Lewis, how you doing, buddy?
Doing fabulous, man. How are you?
Man, I am rocking and rolling. Super stoked to chat with you. So for anybody who hasn't heard of you, which I can't really imagine that anymore because I seem to see your face like everywhere. You're on Creative Live, you're writing for Forbes. You've just been blowing up in the last few years, which has been super, super cool to see. But can you give us kind of like the quick background, how you got into this whole information marketing game and or business, and what the little bit of background is for you there? Because I know you didn't intentionally plan on necessarily getting into it. So
yeah, when we were in college, all I wanted to do was be a pro athlete and kind of live that dream the rest of my life. I had no clue what I was going to do after sports were done with me, and unfortunately, I finished pretty quickly after I started playing professional football, got injured, and for about a year and a half, I was sleeping at my sister's place just trying to figure out what the rest of my life was going to be. I was 23 or 24, and I just didn't know what to do with my life. I was depressed a little bit. I was sad that I lost my dream, and I had no backup plan. I pretty much barely made it through school. I wasn't the best student, and so I didn't know how I was going to translate into having a job. And I realized I really didn't want to work for anyone. I wanted to work for myself, but I didn't know how to make money. So I did a lot of research for that year and got into LinkedIn early on. My mentor, Stuart Jenkins, told me to check out LinkedIn. He said, maybe you can find some opportunities there. Basically, I went in full steam ahead, spent a lot of time using LinkedIn, building relationships, adding value, and figuring out how to leverage it to kind of make money and build my own business. Through that, I started doing other online marketing research, social media research, and kind of just built a brand around LinkedIn, then webinars, then online marketing in general.
Right on, man. And now you've got all this different stuff going on. You know, you've grown it to be, you have what, like a multi-7-figure business now. But I know it certainly didn't start out that way, of course.
Right.
But one of the things, like I know you talk a lot about social media and you get interviewed a lot about LinkedIn or webinars and things like that. But what I kind of want to focus on today is more the productivity side of things, and specifically with how you spend your time and such with your business. Now, before we dive into that though, how would you personally define being productive for yourself? Like, what does that mean to you? Because it means something different to everybody, you know, and you have your own measuring stick for that. How would you define that?
I think productivity means getting things done actively and consistently that are helping you achieve your goal. So it doesn't mean just doing stuff to do stuff or staying busy. Like a lot of people are like, yeah, I'm staying busy.
Right.
But it means getting stuff done that's actively one step closer to achieving your goal. And that's what it means to me.
Okay, right on. Now, how do you lay out your day? Like, what does like a normal day for Lewis look like now? And also, let me know, like, I know you're traveling all over the place all the time, so it probably is, there's a little bit of variability. But you've got to have some core, I don't know, you've got to have some core things that you make sure you focus on for business time, I'm assuming. Like, what's that look like? What's that look like for you?
So flexible. Every day is different. I wake up at a different time every day. I go to bed at a different time every night.
You do, because I get emails from you at like 3 a.m. Eastern time sometimes.
Yeah, I'm probably the least structured, most productive person you'll ever meet, and I've yet to find a structure that works for me because I like being spontaneous.
All right.
And I don't like being stuck doing the same thing every day because then it gets boring. So somehow I figured out how to get stuff done without having a structure. And I don't know. I have a whiteboard here, so I'm constantly writing stuff on my whiteboard of what I need to get done. It's staring me in the face, and I basically just get annoyed if it's not done quickly. So I just kind of get it done, then erase it. And that's kind of my structure.
That's how you do it now.
Luckily, I have people around me who support my lifestyle of helping me get things done. So I've got a full-time personal assistant who manages a lot of my scheduling, a lot of my daily tasks that take a lot of time. That's more of the busy work that doesn't help me be productive or create anything.
Right.
So that I free my mind up every day to just say, what do I want to create that's going to help me get to the dreams that I have and the goals that I currently have.
Okay.
So I usually have about 2 to 4 kind of big goals at a time. And
are those set for like a year? Or are those set for 6 months? Like, how is that for you?
Usually about a year.
All right.
Usually about a year. And because it's hard to like get stuff done 5 years down the road. Now I've got a big goal of playing the Olympics, so I'm doing stuff which is like 3.5 years away, but that's like a journey more than like a goal, I guess. But I've got like learning Spanish, and I'm breaking it down. I want to learn Spanish for the next year, so I'm breaking it down how I'm going to learn it in the next year with my Spanish tutor, with my studying I'm doing, everything else. And I've got business goals. I've got different things that I want to do. I've got my book that I'm working on that I want to have in the next 1.5 years out. So it's just reverse engineering the steps I need to have finished by certain deadlines in order to get the projects done.
So you mentioned reverse engineering there. So do you work from the end back to the beginning? Is that like you set the goal and then you're like, boom, these are the completion dates, or these are the kind of micro goals that I'm going to have? Is that how you personally do it?
That's how I do it. Yeah, I visualize the dream and the goal, and I really make it real in my head. And I frame my goals. I post them up. I plaster them everywhere so that I see them constantly, and I put the date I want to have them achieved by. Now that can be flexible, and it may change, and I may say I want something, but then my life goes in a completely different course. So I need to be flexible and open. Like I wanted to play in the NFL, and I had that plastered all over the place and framed. Like I'm going to be in the NFL. I'm going to be in the NFL. It didn't happen. So certain thing, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me because I want to be here now. If I would have made the NFL,
yeah,
I'd have maybe never been a business owner. So it's like you've got to be open to change and be flexible if your goals do not happen. But the only way you're going to achieve them is you really believe it first, and you see it happening first in your head, in your heart, before it happens. At least that's how I work.
So for you, the visualization, the mindset aspect of it is just as important for productivity as the actual tasks. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you don't see it in your head happening, then it's going to be really hard for something to happen. You've got to really see it and believe that it's going to happen. And I kind of become obsessed with something. So I throw myself 100% in when I want to achieve something or learn something. I become obsessed. And that's all I think about is like achieving that thing, whatever it may be. And I really fall in love with the process and the journey. And, you know, sucking at it for a long time and then getting better each day, you know.
How do you think other people can be better at doing that kind of thing? You know, because, I mean, we all have different things we fall in love with, but I mean, you seem to have cultivated that. And I think probably a lot of that comes from your athletic background too, where you're kind of used to the patience of seeing something come to fruition, right?
Yeah. To be honest, I just feel like people are lazy and think very entitled and have an average way of thinking. They think that things are going to come to them. They should come to them. I think people, on average, allow their parents' views or their friends' views or their partner's views to hold them back from achieving what they want. They may be influenced by what other people say to keep it safe, to play it safe, to do the right thing as opposed to the thing that they really want to do. And those other voices outside kind of hold them back from really going after it and like attacking it. And I've just been lucky to have really supportive family. And when I say I have these crazy dreams, that they're like, cool, go do it. No one's ever told me, have you thought about getting a real job? Have you thought about maybe it's time to like go work for corporate America? No one's ever said that to me in my family. So I'm super blessed and grateful that I didn't have that pressure, the guilt that I was going after something crazy. Right. It was like 100% support. You're crazy if you don't go after your dreams type of attitude. And I think a lot of people don't have that support. It's like, and it's not the parents or friends' fault. They're just fearful for their friends or their family failing. Right. And they don't want to fail and be hurt. So I understand where people come from. But I feel like that's what happens to a lot of people. They get stuck in a job they hate or relationship they hate because they want to play it safe. And they feel like that's what they should be doing as opposed to what they want to be doing.
So like let's take somebody who, let's say, is, you know, hypothetically in that scenario, right? Like what kind of process would you lead them through, you know, in order to kind of get to whatever their main big goal is? And let's say, I don't know, it's leaving that job or whatever that they're hating, you know? Because I know you work with a lot of people to help them get through that. So what's kind of your process for that?
You know, if I could have it my way, it would be like a weekend immersion, like breaking them down and helping them break through of like all the emotional limiting beliefs that they actually have going on.
Yeah.
And then giving them the opportunity to like break through and do what they really want. Discover what it is they want. Most people actually don't know what they want. So discover what their actual dreams are from their heart as opposed to their head, and then give themselves permission to stop doing the things that they don't like doing and put all their energy into things they do love doing to try to capture that goal, that dream. But that, for some people, may take a lot longer to like overcome those limiting beliefs than others. So I don't know, it'd be some type of workshop or something where I could really get them out of their comfort zone and discover what it is they wanted.
For sure, for sure. All right, so looking back at Lewis like 2 or 3 years ago, right, when you're newer to this online marketing thing and you're getting started, what were kind of, you know, what was your day and your time spent like then versus now? Like, and what have you learned? And of course, you know, when you have the money to have other people, or, you know, to have other people on your team, your life is different.
Yeah. For me, when I was starting out, man, it was 12, 14 hours a day, just constant hustle. And I was,
and we say hustle, what do you mean?
I mean,
you hear that a lot, right? But what's it mean?
Yeah. It just means working really, really hard on productive things. And for me, hustle means adding value being very consistent and building relationships
Okay.
and being a creator as opposed to a consumer. So I was constantly creating content and producing content via webinars. So I was setting up as many webinars as I could for my own list, my own audience, but also building relationships, adding value to other people, and getting on the webinars for their audience. So getting in front of as many people as possible and sharing my information about LinkedIn at the time to add value to those networks, to those audiences. And I was just setting up as many webinars as I could because I knew that's what was making things profitable for me. The more webinars I did, the more people I got in front of and shared my information, the more sales I could generate, the more profit my company would have. So I was doing, 3 to 5 webinars a week for a couple of years. And when I wasn't doing the webinars, I was just creating content for my site or for other people's sites, guest posting to get in front of bigger audiences. I was developing products, and then I was building relationships or speaking on stage or whatever it may be to build those relationships. Without the relationships, I want to be able to do what I'm doing. And, it doesn't matter how smart you are, how good your content is, or how well you write, or the videos you create. It does not matter. Right. What matters is the people you get in front of. So I'd rather have average looking content, but amazing content, and focus more of my time on building great relationships with people to provide that content to them, as opposed to trying to make everything perfect for my content the way it looks, not having anyone to share it with, and then not being able to generate any sales. So that's what I was doing a few years ago, is just really traveling all over to the conferences, finding people to connect with and to share this message with.
So what did that look like for you then in terms, so you've got all these webinars you're doing, and were you just doing it for the Linked Influence product then? Or were you doing it for multiple products? Because, 3 to 5 webinars is a lot of webinars in 1 week, right? I mean, that's a lot. And there's a lot of promoting. You got to have just a lot of people to be able to even send to that many webinars in the first place.
Yeah.
So what was kind of, can you dive into a little bit more of your productivity strategy specifically with that aspect and with the networking with other potential webinar people?
The best way to get more people to promote you is to, right after a webinar, when you get a bunch of sales and that person you've promoted it to or with is getting feedback on how great the webinar and the content is if you just ask them, do you know 3 to 5 people with similar audiences or a different niche who would be interested in having me on to share this content? As opposed to trying to go out there one by one and do it yourself, just after you've already helped someone with their audience and made them the champion of their list, say, hey, do you know anyone who would be interested in promoting this as well? And that's what I did all the time. And people would just be like, yeah, here's 3 introductions. And they'd be like, this is amazing, the best webinar I ever did. You got to get on this and you got to promote this guy. And I would follow up with those people and then just get the webinar set up for the next 3 weeks and be ready to roll. And each webinar I would do that. I'd be like, hey, do you know anyone else with a big audience that'd be interested in having this type of content to help them grow their lists? And
were most of these for linked influence, or were they for a combination of things?
It was, we had a different product in the beginning that was like a social media boot camp that we did. And it was kind of like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, different stuff. Then it went to just specific products on LinkedIn or Facebook. So we do specific webinars on them. But originally it was like a social media training course.
Okay. And was that like a boot camp style, like you taught at Creative Live, where it was just a live session, or was this already recorded?
A live webinar, and then we do like a 6-week boot camp.
Okay.
Like one webinar a week for 6 weeks.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. And then now, would you say you continue to do the same kinds of things, or because I know you do a lot of webinars where you promote other people as well now, it seems.
Yeah.
What's the difference now?
I've stopped doing as many webinars myself personally, and we do more. We find experts and create products around them, and then let them do the webinars and teach. Because it's kind of, after 3 years of doing that many webinars, I was kind of like getting a little tired.
Yeah.
And I built, a great audience and kind of put the time in to get what I needed financially, my business wise, I guess my ability to be able to reach out to people and get responses back to anyone and, partner with anyone I really wanted to. I'd kind of done it all. And it wasn't fulfilling me anymore. It wasn't like getting me excited by doing the same thing anymore. So I wanted to be more creative and branch out into other things. So we do automated webinars. We've got a team that does a lot more of the webinars and product creation stuff now. So again, once you make the money, then you've got to like put the money back into
the business,
making your life easier.
Yeah.
And making it, as opposed to me working 14 hours a day and just doing all the work myself, doing everything. Now giving it up a little bit and letting other people do the work so that I can be more creative and have more energy and time.
Right. So when you were first starting out, like what were the biggest obstacles or like that one big obstacle that you felt like you faced in terms of creating your first product or just getting that momentum going with actually shifting? Because you mentioned, okay, being more of a content creator than a content consumer.
Yeah.
What were the obstacles that you faced there and how did you overcome them?
Think of it, for me, I had no clue what I was doing, like online. I had no clue how to like build a sales page or integrate shopping carts, any of that technical stuff. I still have no clue. So the biggest challenge was getting it all set up so it just worked. Like figuring out how to send a mass email, like figuring out the simplest stuff for most people. For me, it was very challenging. Mm-hmm. And so I had a business partner who helped do all that technical stuff that I couldn't do. And
Sean.
Yeah, Sean. Yeah. And, I could have figured it out probably eventually, but it would take me 6 months. And I'd rather have someone who can just do it. And we didn't have a lot of money in the beginning, so we needed to figure this stuff out as opposed to being able to hire someone.
Yeah.
That was the biggest challenge, I think, was just like
the tech side of it.
All the tech stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you can find a good team that can just do that stuff for you and save your energy, then and just focus on creating and selling, that's the best way.
Now, you and Sean, you've kind of got that great business partnership, and it's a little bit more upfront. Like everybody knows about it, but it kind of seems like you don't see that maybe as much as you could. What are your thoughts on that? Because I think that's a huge productivity contributor for you. You just said yourself, like, hey, I'm not that great at this tech stuff. Let me get somebody to help me out with that so I can focus on what I'm actually good at. Yeah,
I think having a business partner can be really good if you guys complement each other.
Yeah.
We've had our arguments just like anyone, but
it's like being married, I'm sure.
Yeah, it is. But at the end of the day, it really works when we know what our goals are and we know what our roles are, and we each stick to our roles to achieving the goals. When we go off track of what our roles are and we get in the way of each other, then it starts to get confusing. So you've got to be very clear and communicate, like, this is what I'm going to be focusing on to help build the business, and the other person's going to be focusing on this. And when one person drops the ball on their focus, it kind of hurts both of you and hurts the company. So you've got to just like communicate, be open and honest with what each person needs to do. Otherwise, it might be more challenging than just doing it on yourself.
And how do you guys manage that? How you guys kind of do project management then for that?
We've got a good little team, and we probably don't do it the way we should. We just kind of call each other a couple of times a week and just chat via email and
keep it casual.
Keep it casual. We've got what do we use, Zendesk or whatever for like managing our tasks. But I don't even ever go in there because it's too confusing for me to just log in. So. I just talk to him. He manages the stuff, and manages our team. I'm a little different than most people, I think, the way I'm productive. So,
no, I think probably more people. I don't know. I kind of feel like similar to what you've got going on there, where I'm not really like a structure kind of person, but I don't know. I kind of usually like to make a little list of what I'm going to do that morning. Yeah. And then I figure it out then. I don't know. Do you do something similar? Like you mentioned the whiteboard. What do you got going like on a day-to-day basis then?
Yeah, I'm constantly, each week I've got a podcast that comes out. So it's like I know when I have to get my podcast done and I have to put it up there. So there's things each week that I need to do. Each week I send out a newsletter. There's certain things that happen each week, each month. So I've got those deadlines for that. But then the rest is like writing it up on the whiteboard and figuring out and just getting closer and closer to the end goal for the big stuff. The little goals, nothing matters unless you're achieving your big goals and your dreams and you're pursuing that, in my opinion.
Yeah.
As long as you're living a sweet, healthy lifestyle, nothing, you're just living a decent life. But if you're not pursuing your dreams, then you're just kind of like living. And what's the point? We're here to like share our talents with the world and like make the most of our talents, not just to like live a decent life, in my opinion. So I just get like a little anxiety if I'm not pushing the envelope and if I'm not feeling uncomfortable with doing the stuff I'm doing. And so I start to feel a little itch, and I just like push it a little harder if I'm feeling itchy,
So what kinds of things in business then make you feel that way?
I want to be a #1 New York Times bestseller. It's one of my goals right now. And not for like the money or anything or like having that. I just feel like in order to share my message with the world, I've got to reach the top. And it makes me feel a little uncomfortable, but it's something I want. So I'm working on everything I need to do to make that happen. And I have no clue if it's going to happen. I can see it, I can visualize it, I can believe it, but it may not happen. Just like I didn't make the NFL. There may be a reason why it doesn't happen. I don't know that. But it's all part of the journey of building relationships and adding value and creating something that's going to be unique and shareable along the way. And whether it reaches that #1 or it doesn't even make the New York Times list, I don't know. But I'm pursuing it as if it's going to happen.
So what steps are you then taking towards that, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, so
just so we have a little context.
First, you got to write an awesome book, because if the book sucks, it doesn't matter how many sales. It's like I want to have something that people are going to talk about for a long time, not just buy because they buy my stuff in general and they want to support me, but they're like, "Holy shit, this is good stuff."
Yeah.
And I need to get 5 copies to hand out to everyone, and I want to talk about it all the time because it really makes sense. So the first thing is you got to create something amazing. The content has got to be amazing. Nothing else really matters until you do that. So that's what I'm working on now, is creating the best outline for the content that I can then go sell to a publisher and give myself the opportunity to have a better position in the marketplace once it comes out. I feel like getting a large advance, a multiple 6-figure or 7-figure advance, is a stepping stone in that process of using it as a marketing tool to reach #1 on the Times list. So the next goal would be get a very large advance. Again, not necessarily for the money, but just because I feel that will help position the book better when it comes out. So everything right now evolves around creating the best outline that's going to be the most marketable, most sellable for the best advance. And that's why I updated my website recently.
Which looks really good, by the way.
Thank you. Because I realized that these publishers are going to look at my website, they're going to Google me, they're going to research me. And they're looking at my old site, it's not going to look as professional as it does now. And I'm trying to think in the minds of them. I want them to see my site for the first time and see who I am and be like, this person is for real. And just automatically, they're going to give me a few $100,000 more. That's like my thought process, because they see it, they perceive it, and they see the value and what I can bring. And they can picture me promoting the book for them with this image. So that's kind of how I'm thinking about it.
So kind of getting inside the mind of the publisher there then.
Getting inside the mind, what do they really want to see?
Yeah.
And what do they want to believe in me? And how can they see themselves promoting me in the book behind me? And then after that, it's writing the book and making the book amazing, finding the right stories I need to have in there through the outline that I've created. After that, they set a publishing date, and then it's like creating the best title for the book and the most amazing looking cover that people will enjoy. And then after that, I've got a whole process for marketing it during a launch and putting together a launch process for the book for the first few weeks. So I've got this map. That's a flexible map of what I need to do. And right now I'm just pushing each step forward to make that happen. And at the end, it may be #1, it may not even be on the list, but I feel like if I do these steps, I'm going to give myself the best chance of getting what I want.
Are you setting time frames on those as well when you map it out, or is it kind of a little fluid?
Yeah. I'm setting, it's flexible, but I'm also setting time frames.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm not beating myself up if I need to adjust it.
Right.
I think that's a lot of people do. They feel guilty if they don't like meet something in time, or they do half-ass work.
Yeah. Well, I know you're not about half-ass work.
Yeah.
Actually, I got to tell you a funny story. One of my like most distinct memories of you from college is actually, I remember I was going for a run one day out to was it called Elliston? Is that the Elliston or something? There's like that little house thing right out on the bluffs there. It was like 6-mile round trip run or something like that, right? And I remember it was like this rainy, cold spring day. And I was going out for a run there, and it was just like ugly day. Nobody was out there but me, and I'm like a mile or two into the run. And all of a sudden I hear this like, and freaking I look over my shoulder, and here you come, dude, just like flying up. You come passing me, and I'm like, dude, that guy is serious. And then I'm like, another mile goes by, and I see you coming back. You pass me again. I'm like, damn, this guy is going. And then you came back again before I even got out there.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm like, dude, this guy is serious. So, I mean, I imagine that you take this same, like no prisoner, no shortcuts attitude into your business life. But like, I will never, ever forget that. Because I just remember, like, man, who else is out here running in this pouring, windy rain? And you're, like, running, like, sets out to Elliston or something, So
that's funny, man. I don't even remember. I mean, I can see myself doing that, but I don't remember the specific moment. That's funny.
Yeah, the things we remember, Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, back to the productivity stuff, though. So you got this book that you're working on, right? And we'll use that as the example too. Like, how much time then in your week are you saying that you set aside on that, or for product creation of any sort, right? Because you got to spend some time on the podcast, of course. And if you're doing webinars or networking, anything like that, how do you kind of put all those things into buckets and make sure to get them done?
Oh man, that's a good question. I don't really have a strategy for it. I just, again, it's like I feel that itch, like if I'm not getting it done in time, and if I'm not pushing the envelope, then I kind of just set aside a couple hours, put on the music, the house, and just get in the zone. And I go until I get a lot done in that kind of 2-3 hour window. And it just kind of comes to me with either inspiration. If I'm not feeling inspired, I'll work on other stuff.
Right.
It's I don't know. I don't really have a strategy for it.
How many hours would you say, like, do you have certain number of hours a day you spend, like, focused on business stuff versus other, or is that fluid again as well?
Yeah, it's very fluid. Some days, because it's all, I call it like strategic fucking off, where I'm kind of constantly playing, and like I'll go work out throughout the day. I'm meeting friends or business contacts. I'm having lunch, tea, whatever. I'm on the phone with people. I'm doing Skype chats. Like, I'm building these relationships and trying to add little pieces of value throughout all day long.
Right.
Wherever I can, it's like, how can I add value? How can I send a video message to someone of giving them a tip, or just thanking them, or telling them how much I appreciate them, or telling them how grateful I am for them? Or how can I, stay in contact with everyone that's important to me and add value to them throughout the day? So a lot of it's just kind of like, it may look like I'm messing around or whatever, or I'm not getting anything done. But for me, it's all part of the process of like adding value to people's lives. And the more value that I give and the more that I serve other people, the more it just comes back to me. And I don't know when it comes back or how, but it comes back.
Right.
So it's really doing little service acts throughout the day. And, but again, I got to make sure that I focus a couple hours a day to like get things done.
Right. Right.
Before, it used to be 14 hours a day of just constant working and doing that. But now I only do a few hours of work a day.
Okay.
Like,
right on.
where I'm actually sitting down and like creating or writing or producing something, maybe a couple.
Now you've got systems in place too that help you make kind of revenue recurring around the clock. And I know that's actually a big part of productivity, is like leveraging your time that way.
Yeah.
What are kind of the key systems or key, revenue buckets that you've got in place, and that you try and make sure, I guess, all of your, any of your clients or coaching students, anything like that, that they make sure they get those in place as well, because that's obviously contributed to the flexibility that you had, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel really grateful. Creating products and then getting others to promote those products on a daily basis is what allows to have that kind of residual income. And that's what we do with our product launches, kind of making a big splash and then having people promote it on a consistent basis. So we've got, a number of products that do that. We've got continuity programs. So people pay once, sign up once and they pay every month.
Right.
For that.
Is that your social media tribe? Is that what it's called? Yeah.
Tribe.
Social marketing tribe. Yeah.
I've got the Sports Executives Association, which is like a sports business membership site as well.
Okay.
I've got a couple books on Amazon that they send me, smaller checks, but I'm getting checks every couple months from having products out there and people buying the books. I have sponsorship deal on my podcast, so it keeps recurring. Every episode, I know how much I'm going to get,
right?
And the more downloads I get, the more that'll increase. My sports website, there's a monthly sponsorship there. There's things that, like, once you create something and you're consistent with it, you're going to start seeing these checks coming in. And you just got to find ways to have people promote them. So again, building those relationships.
Well, you're really good at that. I mean, I know that's like a whole nother gigantic topic in itself, but maybe like 2 or 3 quick tips on that aspect of it, because that is a huge part of it, because you can't just promote the same thing to your audience all the time.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, tip 1 is create something really valuable in the marketplace that people love and they see results when they use it.
Right.
So creating some type of course there, and then making sure that it converts. So people will promote it if it converts well. So you have to design the sales process or the sales page or whatever and make sure it looks clean, it's professional, and that when people go there, it converts. A lot of people buy it. And if you can prove that, then other people will promote it for you.
Okay. Just real quick question on that, which is, what percentage to you is converts well? And of course, I guess it depends on if it's a webinar versus a sales page, but like, what is that number for you guys specifically, if you want to share?
Yeah, I think it depends on the price point, but
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
because if it's $2,000,
like a lot of your, let's say, like a lot of the stuff, like a few of your products are $100, right?
Yeah.
So $97 or whatever. Yeah.
I mean, if you're converting like 3 to 5% around there
on a sales page,
$100, for like kind of cold traffic or whatever, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's always better to have someone promote you who has a targeted audience and they can talk about it and like the benefits of it.
Right.
But if it's just like an ad, 3 to 5%, I guess. But other than that, it should be more in a webinar as well.
Yeah. Well, my man, I want to be, conscientious of your time here. I know you got other stuff going on. You got to live the dream and do all the goodies that you do. But where's the best place for people to connect with you? Is there anything you want anybody to make sure they check out?
LewisHowes.com and School of Greatness podcast on iTunes.
Which I love, man. I'm so happy that you're doing it. It's like my weekly inspiration, Gets me so pumped. It's different too,
What's that?
I love that it's different too. It's not just like another marketing podcast or social media podcast. It's like you got the blend of the athletics and the inspiration and the business. So yeah.
I'm glad you like it, man. It's like the thing I enjoy doing the most, and I'm excited about it. So
well, it seems like you're having a blast with it, and I'm sure it's probably a great lead generator for you as well.
Yeah, it's fun. Good.
Awesome, man. Well,
cool, man.
It's been fun, man, and we'll talk soon.
I appreciate you. Thanks, bro.
All right, brother. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that interview with Lewis Howes and that you have taken tons of notes, got inspired, and have some awesome takeaways from this interview. Now, make sure and head on over to lewishowes.com and please sign up for his newsletter. Sign up for the School of Greatness updates, which are his podcasts. I rarely recommend signing up for somebody's newsletter, but seriously, Lewis is one of those people who I always look forward to his emails every week. He always gives me really, really great content, and his podcast is freaking amazing. It's awesome. So go check him out over there. And again, one last time, if you want to get on the VIP list for my upcoming book, then just head over to joshuajsprague.com/book. Throw your name and email in there real quick, and I will keep you in the loop when it comes out, so you will be the first to get your hands on it and also get some bonuses and some special things when that all happens. So anyway, make sure and check that out. Hope you guys have an amazing, amazing day, and keep rocking. Implement what you've learned in the interview today. And again, go check out my man Lewis House at lewishouse.com. All right, keep rocking. We'll talk to you guys soon.